Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the Sauce. Continuing on with the NFL playoffs. I don't know how we did on Saturday yet because I'm recording this at halftime of the Texans-Ravens game. Not off to the best start. I mean, obviously a punt return, that sucks. Whenever the team you bet against gets a punt return, that's going to kill you. But Lamar Jackson, man, holding on to the ball and taking sacks when there are options. A little frustrating, but still time to cover this number. Hopefully that we don't start this weekend off with a loss, but we'll see. But anyway, in this one, I'm doing Bucs Lions. Let's go.
Welcome to the Sauce. The Sauce. Sauce. Hey, get the sauce.
All right, like I said, Tampa's on the road at Detroit here. Lions are laying 6 points at home. The total sitting at 49.5. Data's showing action coming in pretty split on this one. It was at 6 early in the week. Looks like some money came in, bought it up to 6.5. But then there must have been some buyback on the Tampa side because now it's mostly back down to 6. Really not much line movement in this one because if you look, you can still find 6.5s out there as well. Total's been slowly creeping up all week. It was at 48.5 on Tuesday morning, and then on Friday was at 49, now 49.5. And as I'm recording this, I'm seeing 50s out there. So market's been slowly pushing this number up all week. Let's talk injuries. Tampa Bay's offense completely healthy. Nobody even listed as questionable for the Bucs offense full strength. Tampa's defense is in good shape also. Shaq Barrett is listed as questionable on the edge. He missed practice on Wednesday and Thursday, but he did participate in a light practice on Friday, so I'd imagine he'll be a game time decision. On the Detroit side, Lions offensively are going to be missing Khalif Raymond again. He's their wide receiver 4, and he also returns kicks for him. He missed last week's game against the Rams as well. Sam Laporta listed as questionable, but he hasn't missed a practice all week, so pretty sure we can count on Sam Laporta playing. Defensively, Lions are missing Emmanuel Mosley. I got to take him off the graphic. He hasn't played all year. He's been out for the season. I think he got hurt in training camp, to be honest. But good news for Detroit. James Houston might be back for this one. He's been practicing all week. He's listed as questionable. He hasn't played since week 2. He's been out since September 17th. Now, if you don't know who James Houston is, he was a 6th-round pick rookie last year out of Jackson State. He played on Deion's team, on Coach Prime's Jackson State team 2 years ago. 6th-round pick. He got called up from the practice squad with 7 games to go last year. Remember when the Lions got hot the second half of the season last year? So they called this kid up from the practice squad. He had 8 sacks in 7 games. Now, Aiden Hutchinson obviously is the star. He's the 1st-round pick. He's from Michigan and all that. So he got all the press, but Hutchinson only had 4 sacks in this span. James Houston had 8, and they had high hopes for this kid this season. Unfortunately, he got hurt in week 2. He's been out ever since, but looks like he might be back for this one on the edge opposite of Aiden Hutchinson. So let's match these two teams up on the field. We'll start with the Bucs offense. Let's start with Baker Mayfield in the passing attack. It's been pretty up and down, kind of a roller coaster this year. On the season, they're 16th in DVOA, 11th in yards per attempt, and 9th in passer rating. Now, last week, we definitely saw the good version of Baker Mayfield. 337 yards, 9.4 yards per attempt, 3 touchdowns, a 119.8 passer rating against the Eagles in the wild card round. He was excellent in that game. But let's not forget how he looked the week before that in a must-win game against the Panthers. That's where we saw the bad Baker. Now, that one was on the road. The Eagles game was at home in Tampa against Carolina in basically a playoff game for Tampa. Baker Mayfield threw for just 137 yards, 4.3 yards per attempt, 72 passer rating. Now, he was banged up, so some people are blaming those numbers on the injuries, but it happened. We saw it. And we also have to factor in just how bad this Philadelphia pass defense is. I mean, people don't even realize how far they fell in the second half of the season. They finished the year 29th in pass defense DVOA. The Eagles, the Carolina Panthers were 17th. So the Panthers are actually a much stronger pass defense than the Eagles. Overall, though, even with the Carolina game included, if you zoom out and take a look at Baker Mayfield's last 6 games, he's definitely been quite good. 3rd in EPA per dropback, 8th in success rate per dropback, a 107 average passer rating, 8.2 yards per attempt. I mean, if you take those numbers and compare it to his first 12 games, 12th, 18th, and 82 passer rating and 6.7 yards per attempt. Now he's matched up against the Detroit defense, and this is an interesting matchup because they played earlier in the season back in week 6, and it was actually Baker Mayfield's worst game of the season. He was just 19 to 37, 51% completions, no touchdowns and a pick, 5.6 yards per attempt, and 56.8 passer rating. That's awful. And it's weird because that particular game against Tampa, that's when we started to see the Lions pass defense fall off. Remember, they started this season hot against the pass. They were 9th in EPA per dropback, 12th in success rate per dropback, an average opponent passer rating of 78.8. But after the Bucs game for the rest of the season, they were one of the worst pass defenses in the NFL. So you could factor that into your handicap. You could say, oh, well, Baker Mayfield struggled against the Lions, but that was back when the Lions were playing really good defense against the pass. As we know, the bright spot of this Lions pass defense is the pass rush. They're first in pressure rate, second in QB hurry rate, second in hit rate, just 22nd in adjusted sack rate, which isn't great, which means they're generating pressure, just not getting the quarterback to the ground as much. The good news for the Lions defense here would be Baker Mayfield's numbers under pressure have really fallen off. He started off the season with great numbers under pressure. He was one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL under pressure. Actually, it's kind of flipped now. He's actually been much better under a clean pocket recently, and he's struggled under pressure. One positive angle for Baker Mayfield, though, he's been good against the blitz, and Detroit blitzes a lot. They're 5th in the NFL in blitz rate. Baker, when blitzed this year, 6th, 8th, 7th, 10th, and 9th. The reason I spent so much time talking about Baker Mayfield splits in this one, in his matchup against Detroit, is I don't think he's going to have much run support here. This Bucs run game really hasn't been there all season. 28th in DVOA, 27th in adjusted line yards, 32nd, dead last in yards per carry as a team. And when Tampa Bay saw the Lions earlier this season, back in week 6, the run game was horrible. 16 carries, 46 yards, just 2.9 yards per carry. Wasn't there at all. Keep in mind, this is a Lions defense that's been top 3 against the run all season. I mean, you could probably make an argument that the Lions have the best run defense in the NFL. On the season, they're 6th in adjusted line yards, 1st in DVOA, 3rd in yards per carry. And they haven't cooled off in that department either. I mean, in their last 5 games, they're allowing just 63.6 rushing yards per game, 3.21 yards per carry. I mean, Kyron Williams has been running the ball on everybody. He couldn't even really get it going on the Lions. Situational stats on this side of the ball, really no edge either way. Both of these units are good on third downs, and both of these units are bad in the red zone. My overall opinion on this side of the ball is Baker Mayfield should have opportunities to make plays through the air. So they're going to be there, whether he makes them or not. You use your judgment, but on paper, there should be plays for him to make through the air. Run game is not going to be there, though. Now let's flip it around and talk about the other side of the ball. We'll start with the Tampa Bay pass defense. Now, last week, I know the final score was 32-9. I know the narrative was that Tampa Bay just shut down the Eagles, which, I mean, is kind of true. But it's really the run game that they shut down. Jalen Hurts actually had some good-looking numbers in the game. 25 of 35, 250 yards, 1 touchdown, and 100.9 passer rating. But it's not really Jalen Hurts' numbers from last week that have me worried about the Bucs pass defense. It's their home-away splits. You can see at home, Tampa Bay is 13th in opponent passer rating, 17th in yards per pass attempt allowed, 13th in completion percentage. On the road, one of the worst pass defenses in the NFL, 28th, 26th, 26th. And these road splits would look even worse if that terrible Week 18 game wasn't included. Keep in mind, Week 18, Tampa Bay goes on the road to Carolina. Bryce Young was awful, just 137 yards, 5.2 yards per attempt, and a 74 passer rating. That's included. So that's a great defensive performance for the Bucs, included, and they're still 28th in opponent passer rating allowed. And to make matters worse for the Bucs pass defense, we know that their pass rush is mediocre at best. On the season, they're 16th in adjusted sack rate, 15th in hurry, 26th in pressure rate, 30th in hit rate. The reason those Bucs pass rush numbers are so important here is because, as we know, and this was the case last year as well, Jared Goff, when given a clean pocket, is a monster. I mean, when pressured, amongst 33 qualified quarterbacks, he's just 24th in passer rating, 27th in turnover-worthy play rate, and 24th in PFF passer grade. When given a clean pocket this year, 2nd, 1st, 2nd, and the numbers look just like that last year as well. Remember, we saw this matchup already earlier in the season, back in Week 6. We saw the Lions go on the road to Tampa, and Jared Goff had a great game. 353 yards, 8 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns, and a 107.5 passer rating. That was on the road in Tampa, where we just saw the Bucs pass defense is much better at home. Now we're at Ford Field in Detroit, where not only is the Bucs pass defense worse, but look at Jared Goff's home away splits. On the road, he's completing just 64.8% of his passes, an 89 passer rating, and 7.1 yards per attempt. All those numbers significantly better at home at Ford Field, and this is the same as it was last year too. Look, it's the NFL playoffs. Anything can happen, but on paper, I don't see any reason why Jared Goff doesn't have a big game throwing the ball here. Now, what about the run game, though? Because now we get to the strength of the Tampa Bay defense. They can definitely stop the run. On the season, they're 8th in DVOA, 14th in adjusted line yards, and 6th in yards per carry allowed. And this Tampa run defense is coming into this game on a little bit of a heater, too. Over the last 7 games, they're allowing just 3.6 yards per carry, 86.7 rush yards per game. So this run defense didn't cool off as the season progressed. It actually was the opposite. Last week against the Eagles, and remember, Philly's run game came into the playoffs hot. Philly had a lot of problems down the stretch, but they were running the ball. Look what Tampa did to them. 15 carries, 42 yards on the ground, 2.8 yards per carry. And I mean, this is the Eagles. Now, I know the Eagles have had their problems. They're definitely not the elite team that they were last year, but still, this is impressive defensive performance here. But again, we keep circling back to this. That was at home in Tampa. Look what happened to the Bucs run defense the week before that on the road in Carolina. And by the way, the Panthers run game has been one of the worst in football this year. They're 25th in DVOA, 28th in adjusted line yards. Those Panthers bullied the Bucs at the line of scrimmage. 29 carries, 131 yards on the ground. In case you haven't heard, the Lions have one of the best rushing attacks in the NFL this year. They're 1st in adjusted line yards, 4th in DVOA, and 5th in yards per carry as a team. Now, we do need to point out that the Detroit run game has slowed down a bit. On the last 4 games, they're averaging just 104 rushing yards per game, 3.6 yards per carry. That was against the Cowboys and the Vikings twice, solid run defenses. But the Rams, really no excuse for not being able to run the ball at home against the Rams. And let's not forget, back in week 6, Jared Goff may have cooked on this Bucs secondary, but Bucs completely shut down the Lions run game, just 22 carries and 40 yards, 1.8 yards per carry. But we do need to mention that this game, this week 6 matchup, Jahmyr Gibbs didn't play. He was hurt. And David Montgomery got hurt mid-game. I think in the first half, he only had 6 carries. So yeah, they shut down the Lions rushing attack back in week 6, but the Lions were missing both of their backs. Situational stats on this side of the ball, edge definitely goes to the Lions offense on 3rd downs. They're 10th. The Bucs defense is 22nd. In the red zone, it's kind of a wash. The Bucs defense has been solid in the red zone all season, but Lions offense has been one of the most dangerous in the red zone all season. Got an underdog pick 'em for this one. It's a 3-pick, so it pays out 6 times. Going with Jared Goff higher than 279.5 pass yards, Sam Laporta higher than 42.5 receiving yards, and Rashad White lower than 55.5 rushing yards. Like I said, it's a 3-pick, so this will pay out 6 times if it hits. If you don't have an Underdog fantasy account, it's available in any state highlighted in this map. So if you're in one of the states highlighted in yellow here, head over to the website or download the app Underdog Fantasy. When you make your account, make sure you use the promo code BET. BET. That'll get you a $100 deposit bonus match. So if you deposit $100, they will give you a free $100 to play with. As far as what I'm betting in this game, I got to go Detroit in this one. I'm going to lay the points with the Lions. I expect Baker Mayfield to make some plays through the air. I'm not expecting the Bucs offense to get shut down, but Matt Stafford made plays through the air last week as well. Didn't matter. Lions still won the game. Rams just couldn't get Kyren Williams going on the ground. If the Rams couldn't get Kyren Williams going on the ground, how are the Bucs going to get Rashad White going? I just don't see any run game there for the Bucs. Which means there's just going to be so much pressure on Baker Mayfield to try to keep up with this Lions offense at Ford Field, where they're usually so dangerous. So I'm going Lions in over here. Detroit -6 and over 49.5. If you want my top bets for all sports, parlays of the day, for the NFL playoffs, I'm going to start doing a same game parlay for each game. That's what I'll do. So if you're interested in that, head over to KyleKirms.com. Also, the information to join the Discord's right there on the homepage as well. So head over there if you're interested. Let's finish out this weekend strong. Remember to bet responsibly, and I will talk to you in the Discord.